Alright, so in today's video, I got the Platinum Trophy on Infamous Second Son. This is one of the many games inside the Infamous franchise, but the first one that was available on the PS4, meaning it's very playable on the PS5 more than 10 years later. In total, it has 48 trophies, including the Platinum, and takes less than 20 hours to 100% complete, making this one of the most fun and stress-free Platinums that you can get. Anyways, this is also a part of a challenge where I've been trying to Platinum over 100 games suggested by the community, and if I can't complete them all before the channel hits 850,000 subscribers, then I have to shave my head and look like a base character from a video game. So make sure to drop a like and subscribe. But stage 1 to Infamous is to beat the entire story on normal difficulty while doing hero or good karma choices throughout it. You must complete 2 playthroughs for this game, by the way, no matter what. But the main story itself is not all that long, so don't worry about that at all. And before the game even kicks off, we see a little Star Wars type story introduction explaining the backstory for this game's plot. Essentially, in this universe, there's people called conduits who can control matter and each have their own type of power, like fire, concrete, video, and neon, which we all get in the game, by the way. But then the government created the DUP to hunt them down and capture these people because some of them were a bit violent with their powers and became bioterrorists, as the game refers to them. And it then ends off saying a truck full of bioterrorists heading towards Washington would never arrive, very ominously. But then the game actually begins when we watch as the main character we play as, named Delson, is spray painting some graffiti on this billboard. And you actually do the spray painting also, which is cool. Although the tracking of the controller was a bit frustrating at times, ignore me trying to draw a penis, it didn't work out at all. In fact, you could tell me that looked like my mom. Oh my God. But then once we finished, the sheriff showed up to arrest us because graffiti is indeed illegal. So Delson jumped down into the building. We also met a side character named Betty, who was like the leader of this place we were in, and she also gave us 5 minutes to run away. Initiate tutorial parkour running section, hell yeah. So after completing that little running part, we reached the tribe's cabin and the sheriff was just waiting there. Bro was spawn camping like Planned Parenthood. Anyways, this cop is also our brother, which is cool, and Delson and him then went back and forth before that truck full of inmates mentioned earlier just crashes nearby out of the blue, and a bunch of conduits escaped and then ran away. However, one got caught and his name is Henry. But before we got to know his favorite color, Delson just grabbed his hand since he was shooting at his brother, and then he got a super quick look at his memories, also ending up snagging his conduit powers, and now Delson can control smoke and fire. But not well, because he almost got sent right off a cliff immediately. However, then we gained control for real this time and had to find our bro because he is not doing so hot. Actually though, he probably is hot because there's fire everywhere, but he was also stuck under a car that we had to lift off of him. In doing so, we also exposed ourselves already to him as being a conduit. Family holidays are going to be awkward, let's just say that. But after we saved bro, he led us to a factory nearby, and Henry, the evil conduit, ran in there and started to destroy it because why not? So we had to chase after him in a very long combat section and even battle. Now my battling skills were kind of trash, so I low-key almost died, but that's just because I had no clue how this game's combat worked yet. And eventually we chased him outside again, only to run right into the leader of the DUP named Augustine, a woman who can control concrete and uses it to entrap and torture individuals. She also smelled that something was up with us, and we got posed with an option of good or evil. Now since this is my good run, I just went with it, and even after confessing, she still didn't believe us. Maybe she actually is quite retarded, who knows? I mean, she kind of looks like it, but that's another story. Anyways, I then got the first trophy of the game from that decision, by the way, so that's a W. Also, the intro is basically finished. This next part is kind of still the intro of the game, but a bit less. Basically though, everyone in the tribe we are a part of got tortured by Augustine and has concrete now stuck in them with no way of removing it except for if you have concrete powers to drag it out. So the entire game's plot has Delson going into Seattle to chase down Augustine and steal her powers because he is like a conduit sponge and can absorb any conduit's power with his hands. So then Delson and his brother headed off to Seattle, and on the way you interact with a core relay for the first time. This is a little device that for some reason grants Delson more powers within his absorbed one, and we use them a ton throughout the story. But there was also this little part that had us trying to help this bus get to Seattle full of survivors and innocent people. However, almost instantly that plan went down the drain because there was a ton of DUP agents just in the tunnel there stalking it, which we then had to get rid of them, and also the bridge to Seattle itself is completely and utterly ruined. Like, even if you had the bang bus, I don't think such a vessel could get through all of this. At the end of the bridge though, Delson's brother was just stuck and apparently needed our desperate help because he can't swim, I guess. I mean, dude, you're so close to the shore and bridge anyways. It's almost sad that he needs us. Personally, I say just let him fall in. He needs a fight or fight moment in his damn life. How are you a cop but you can't swim? That's gotta be a requirement. Come on now, don't lie to me. So yeah, once we saved him, we were then basically in Seattle, and the game actually took off for real this time with a much more fast-paced story than the long-ass intro we just did. And the first goal or set of objectives had us just kind of getting used to the city and the DUP control of it, literally running around and just f***ing with them. Like, there really wasn't a direct goal or anything for the time being. I also did spend a lot of time just doing all these side objectives in that first district because you have to anyways, and it helps you get leveled up quicker. Because of that, I also unlocked my first district showdown, and this is where you have lowered the DUP control of a district to below 30%. You prank call them and then fight a bunch of people they send at you. Once completed for the first time, this trophy pops. And then a few minutes later, my last objective was to just get rid of a hidden camera, which they really aren't that hidden, by the way, I'm just saying. And once I did shoot it with the flame blast, it gave me another trophy for finishing off an entire district. We would then run to the first of 2 side characters we meet in this game's story, and also first of the 2 characters we absorb powers from. Her name is Fetch, and she has the neon power, which is kind of like just this electricity power, but you charge it up from neon lights, and it's just cooler to be neon, I guess. But she had this big story of her parents being drug dealers and a lot of typical womanly emotional trauma, sadly, so that sucks. But because of that trauma, she's like low-key a mass murderer against drug dealers and bad people. So yeah, I'm not sure if she gets the hero card right now, but maybe in the future. Anyways, Delson just kind of ambushes her and grabs her hands, absorbing her power. We then got to boss fight her and couldn't yet do damage, so instead we just destroyed all her signs that gave her the power. Thinking smarter, not harder, my boy right here. But once we did finish off the fight and won, Delson again grabbed her hands and we got to peek into her memories, all intrusive like. We saw the whole drugs thing Fetch went through, and also how she was one of the recently escaped inmates and now has a hit list. What a diva. But then our brother cop showed up to ruin our special moment and wanted to arrest her. But we were given a choice to redeem her or corrupt her, basically. And I chose the blue option yet again, which then led us to kind of team up with her and do a few missions to make sure she doesn't go feral and start killing people. Also, yes, we do have the neon power now, which is my personal favorite in the game because it's the fastest moving one and not so clunky like the fire power or the concrete power we got in the end game. And the next trophy I got was from using the neon power and hitting 3 weak points with the neon beam in 6 seconds on enemies. We then went on a big mission run with Fetch and chased down numerous drug dealers, having to get them all off the streets any way possible. Now this is the good version apparently, and the evil one was much more violent and is actually quite cool how the 2 playthroughs vary in difference. But once we took out all the drug dealers, I got another story trophy with Fetch. We then actually reached a fight against Augustine, and it went good until it didn't, and Delson got completely captured by her in concrete. But then a literal angel flew in and grabbed us, then flew away and dropped us again, leaving Delson free, but also just completely and utterly confused. And that's actually the next power we chase after, and you'll see what I mean in a few moments. However, before continuing the story, I did just do some more side stuff because why not? And I ended up getting a trophy from healing 10 random citizens just in agony on the street. I also rescued 10 escaped conduits from angry mobs for another trophy, which was a new event in the area we got dropped into. And I also completed half of the district showdowns for another trophy relating to side content. Now, since I did half of the district showdowns, I also then just finished off half the districts in general for another trophy as well. But then we did go down another storyline of the main story, and it was relating to the video power, which is like the controlling of TVs and electronics. It's actually very similar to the neon power, but very different. I don't even know, bro. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. This is also my least favorite part of the story, I'm not gonna lie. I just found the whole thing kind of dumb. But the dude who has video powers is just a complete nerd. He also looks like a frequent Reddit user. Take that however you want. But he's such a bitch, he never even goes in to actually fight. Instead, he just sends in summons of angels and demons. And we got to fight his massive fake avatar as well, which was actually a hard fight, and I died numerous times. It was bullshit. And again, like Fetch's boss fight, once you win, you just grab the person and see their life backstory. His was much more lame. Basically, he just got bullied and is now angry because of that, and he has no friends. And again, in literally the same fashion, our brother just shows up. We get given the same choice, and I chose blue again. This game's story might have been a copy-paste story, but it's still fun. Okay, geez, get off my dick. So yeah, now we have video powers, which are used to travel big distances, and that's about all they're good for. I don't really like these, to be honest, but they could be worse, let's be real. But once we had them, there was then a giant fight against the DUP all of a sudden, and it was quite hard. I also got very nervous, so I just activated my ultimate and ended up killing only 1 enemy with it. So that's a huge waste, but it was actually a trophy, which is fucking hilarious. If only I could get rewarded for being a fuck up all the time. But this main story section wasn't over, and we were low-key getting our asses beat into. So thankfully the nerd came into play and actually showed up to help your boy out. And in doing so, he redeemed himself much like Fetch did with the drug dealer execution, and we got another good story trophy pop. Now that's the last power we got before the ending of the game, and I got a few trophies before those final missions. The first one was from freeing 10 suspects from locked up pens throughout the city, which is just crazy to have lying around, but this is Seattle, baby. I also busted 10 drug dealers in the game's normal quick time event, having them just scatter throughout the city for another trophy trophy after that. And then we did just end up fighting Augustine again. However, it again was not the final fight and ended with us just waking up in some other area of the map again. Delson here is basically just experiencing the average day drinker's life. Let's be real. That last fight was also a part of the second to last mission in which some dude betrayed us, but it was kind of boring, so I just skipped past it. Now, before finishing the story, I did get a few more trophies like you'd expect. The first one was from destroying half of the DUP security cameras in the game. And then we actually caught the guy who betrayed us in that last Augustine boss fight, which before the fight began, our brother also got killed by her, so yeah, Delson is kind of on a revenge trip right now. And we got posed with the option of killing Hank or sparing him. But seeing as this is the good playthrough, I had to do it, and I spared him, even though I want to kill him low-key. But it's another trophy for saving him anyways. After that, I then did begin the last mission of the game, which was a two-stage mission. The first was to just climb the main DUP tower in the city, and about halfway up, Fetch made an appearance, and I also apparently gained half of the blast shards, which is a collectible type in the game, for another trophy pop. But then we just finished climbing the tower. Once reaching the top, Fetch did some weird roof opening witchcraft before we had to just survive and then crash down into it to enter the final boss fight room. It's against Augustine again, and it's pretty lame for the most part because we just got given the concrete powers and had nothing to use them with, seeing as we need those core relays to function. So the nerd then just casually found them around the map and threw some into the room for us to gain moves. Eventually we had all of them at our disposal, and then the fight actually began. I'm not gonna lie, I did die multiple times. The fight was hard, man, don't judge me. I also suck at dodging because I have half a brain. It's a long story. But after dying repeatedly, I just sat there for a few minutes and questioned my life. It happens. And eventually I did win, but just so you know, before the fight started, you do get to choose the good option or the evil option, which was to arrest or kill her, and you know, I chose to arrest her. So then we watched as Delson went back to the tribe to tear the concrete out of all of them and save a ton of lives. Ignore the fact that we definitely took a few today. It's collateral damage. The final story trophy then popped and the credits played in tune. Also, you were forced to watch all the credits, which is a questionable choice by the developers. I won't judge, okay? I won't judge. But once they did finally finish, I got another trophy from beating the story the good way, so here's that. Now, before beginning the EVO playthrough, I did just go do a little cleanup of some combat trophies and 100% district completion. And this is actually stage 2 on the trophy guide, which is dope. But the first trophy I got was called Hat Trick from killing an enemy using 3 different powers. And this is very easy to get, seeing as you can just tap a dude with 2 powers once and then finish him off with a third one. I also reached level 5 hero a few moments after for another trophy to pop. I then destroyed 5 cars within 5 seconds, which is very easy if you just use that ultimate move next to a bunch of parked cars for that trophy. Next, I then did one from climbing to the top of the DUP tower and using that video launch to get even more height. Then comet dropping with square over 170 meters right here for another trophy. And there's another trophy done in the same method, just instead of dropping, you want to stay in the air for 45 seconds, but I couldn't quite get that one to work. So instead I just did this method of going from air vent to air vent for 45 seconds, and it worked, eventually giving me the trophy once I touched the ground again. Now, speaking of vents, I also did a trophy in the same spot from going to 2 different vents in a row and then smashing down onto an enemy for a trophy to pop. But that was then it for the random combat trophies for now, and I then grinded out the completion of the remaining districts I had left. The first trophy being from me destroying all the hidden cameras in the town. And then I was grinding out more completion and I accidentally got a combat trophy, so disregard what I just said, but it was from getting 10 kills with exploding ammo crates. Next up, I defeated all the secret agents, found all of the audio logs, and destroyed every single security camera from the DUP. And I completed all of the graffiti spots around the map for trophies. Followed with me completing the final showdown of the game for another. And my very last thing to do was then from just destroying a scanner for the final blast shard, getting 2 trophies for gathering that and completing every district in the game. Regaining control of Seattle 100%. So now it is time to begin the EVO playthrough, or stage 3. This is also on the expert difficulty playthrough as well, just for some more info, which is needed for a trophy. But also, it's not that hard to be honest, so you know, it's whatever. And during the EVO playthrough, I'm not going to go and re-explain the whole story, but I will show the changes because within the EVO choices, a lot does change, and it's very cool to see the difference in real time. The first red-blue choice was, if you remember, that scene exposing yourself to Augustine or not in the intro, and this time you just give up the tribe. The outcome though is still the same as before. However, Delson's dialogue is much ruder and harsher already to Betty and the tribe after, but you get a different trophy for that choice as you would expect. Before any other significant story changes, I also just got some trophies from the Red World and combat events, first being from executing 10 wounded citizens. We might be a terrorist now, but it's okay. I also did one during the story from using the cough stun move and then comet dropping them to perform a cough drop, as they say, on 3 enemies. And then I did reach the fetch evil choice part, and this time we did corrupt her, which led us to, instead of taking out drug dealers like the somewhat noble person would, we just ran around the city destroying relatively innocent civilians protesting. It's kind of a harsh punishment, but so what? It's another trophy. Oh yeah, Delson and her also got it on. Shout out bro. I am absolutely bitchless and I hate him now. So the next evil choice was to corrupt the nerd dude again, just like Fetch, and I didn't really notice too much of a change in his story. I was also not really paying attention because I don't like his the first time, so it kind of killed the vibe, but it still gave us a different trophy regardless. I then completed my 10th gang member event next, which is like the opposite of the stop 10 drug dealer event, I'm pretty sure. Anyways, nice. It's a trophy. I also got rid of 10 sign spinners, and off the record, this is allowed because those people are so annoying. Like, bro, spinning the sign makes me not able to read it, dumbass. Just leave it still, for real. But then finally, we reach Hank's part again, and before, we just let him go after inadvertently killing our brother. But this time, no mercy, god damn it. No mercy. I'll see you in hell, Hank. And here's that trophy as well. I love that shit. And yeah, that then just led us to the final boss fight once more. It took me a lot less tries this time, even though it was on a harder difficulty because I was just better at the game now. But I did still die. It happens. And this time we did kill Augustine, which was fun, so rest in poop, you bitch. However, once we returned to the tribe to save them, Betty confronted us and just said that we were a disgrace and outcast from the community. A true bitch move. They would rather all die a painful, slow death to concrete in their entire body than be healed by a not so nice guy. Natural selection, I guess. Anyways, enough of this dumb woman. Here's that playthrough's evil ending trophy pop. The credits roll again, and then I got 2 trophies once they finished, actually. First from doing it on Evil Karma, and then the expert difficulty as well. I now only have 2 trophies left to get. First being from reaching level 5 of the Evil Karma, which I got first while just running around doing a few more evil actions, and then finally from killing 10 street performers. Now, low-key, that's probably the most evil thing we have done all game. Bro was actually just playing music and we said, fuck him, that's insane. But I did do it 10 times anyways and got the trophy right here, with that platinum trophy popping in succession. So that was the infamous Second Son platinum trophy experience. Overall, I think the game is great. I had a ton of fun on it, and I think that's actually due to the fact that the game is just fun in general. Like, the trophies are simple, there isn't really anything missable, and the collectibles are there, but not overwhelming by any means. I really wish more games were like this, and if they were, I wouldn't be so fucking miserable half the time. But anyways, rating it out of 10, I'll give it a solid 9. Great game, would recommend to a friend, and that's all. I love you. That was a fucking cringy ass